Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of Shakin Hands. I'm your host, Jack Moran. You can find me on Instagram at Jack Riley Moran. That is Jack Riley Moran. Today on the podcast, we have Korey McDavid, the founder of Juiced Fuel. What's going on, Korey?
Doing great.
All good? Getting jacked up for Monday morning?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So tell us a little bit about your business. Let's get started like that.
Yeah, so Juice Fuel, we are the Low Country's premier fuel delivery service. So pretty much anything that needs fuel, we'll deliver to it. We basically got three business lines, our residential subscribers, then we've got our fleet, commercial customers, and then boats as well.
Okay, so how do you guys deliver the fuel?
So we've got two trucks with 400-gallon skids, custom built for the beds of the truck.
What's a skid?
It's got four separate tanks. It's got the hose reel, pump, metering system all built into one, movable skid that can be dropped into any truck that has an 8-foot bed with a forklift.
How did you it's kind of a niche business. How did you recognize the need for that?
Yeah, so I've been in the oil and gas energy business for over a decade now, and most recently I was in the wholesale distribution storage side, and I saw all the customers and the distributors coming in and who they were supplying, and if you needed a lot of fuel, you could get someone to bring you fuel. If you needed a little bit of fuel, you're kind of on your own. And so there was this big gap of if I need 100 gallons for a boat, or I need 150 gallons for my excavator I'm working on, I got to get that myself. And so there was this major hole in the market, and so I thought that's where I need to step in.
So who is usually the buyer? What's the kind of ideal client for you guys?
Our ideal customer, just because it's very consistent, is like a fleet. So picture any trade business that has pick up plumbing or something, HVAC, that might have 12, 15 vehicles, and they come back to a warehouse and they park overnight. And before Juiced was here, they were managing it through a fleet card or credit cards, and just rampant fraud and abuse. So it's also difficult to manage that. They're all over the place. The spread between the lowest price and the highest price of gas could be 40, 50 cents. So where are they filling up? So we can come in after hours, no disruption to their normal day, fill up all their vehicles with predictable pricing and reliable service. So it's a win-win for the consumer, because they're normally paying their employees to do it at the pump, and we can come in there and ultimately save them money and make money ourselves.
Gotcha. So are they usually getting an ongoing retainer contract with you, or is it tonight we want the fuel?
So we do a recurring schedule. We don't put anyone on a contract. That's mainly because we want to consistently earn your business with the service that we're providing. But also, you don't sign a contract when you go to a gas station. So we don't want to be a barrier to entry.
Gotcha.
To changing the way you typically do it. So if you call me and say, hey, we'd like to try you out, we'll do it. And then we don't have anyone leave. They love our service and continue doing it week over week. So typical would be once a week or twice a week, depending on the usage. And we just set a day and time that works for them and works for us, and keep going.
Oh, yeah. How long have you guys been in business for?
Almost 2 years now. So December will be 2 years.
So what was your career before starting your own business?
So I was typical corporate gig for a company called Kinder Morgan, and they are a energy infrastructure company. So I was managing the terminal here in Charleston. So we would bring in ships of fuel and store them and send them out by truck. And so our customers were the owners of the commodities. And so we would help, facilitate the logistics of that. Did that for about 6 years. Prior to that, I worked offshore oil and gas as a ROV pilot, which is a remote operated vehicle pilot. So we do subsea construction and basically eyes and hands for the oil companies building things on the bottom of the ocean. So that was a pretty cool gig. Did that for like 4 years. And before that, I was an Apache pilot in the Army.
Wow, that's awesome.
Kind of chased like whatever was interesting and could also make money doing.
Sound like an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So got a little tired of the the corporate grind, and it constantly was like, no matter how well we might have been doing locally, you're at the behest of the big global company. Like if they weren't doing well, I'm having to tell my guys like, hey, no increases this year. We're gonna have to cut your bonuses, and that's just like crushed my soul. And so really wanted to get my own thing going.
What was it like making the transition from corporate life into your own business? What were kind of the like differences you saw there and the struggles you dealt with?
Yeah, so it's stressful. I mean, I'm married. I've got two boys. So risk is a big part of that. I still work full time as part of that risk management. So finding that balance of being all in with the company, but also having to put food on the table, and also trying to be a good husband and father. It's a tough balance.
How do you deal with like adversity with the company, like, or that risk and dealing with that stress? Do you have a method for that? How do you keep going? Like,
I don't have a method for it. Maybe I'm not dealing with it well. I don't know. I get like a little imposter syndrome when I'm offering like advice or like how I deal with things, because we're very much in the thick of it and the grind, like figuring things out as we go, and that's really it. Is I'm very good at compartmentalizing it. So maybe that's my if you take anything from this, is like being able to break down a problem, and categorize it in this has to happen first, this next, and taking it one step at a time, and very pragmatic approach.
what do you think are the like biggest priorities that you focus on within the business? Like, these are the first things that are my biggest focus.
So with our business where we're at currently, it's one, growth. Like we want to constantly be showing growth. We haven't taken on any venture capital or anything like that yet, but that is in the future. And so we don't want to show any steps backwards. So constantly growth, constantly bringing in new customers, and everything we're doing is to facilitate that. Second is taking care of the customers we currently have. How your people are normally getting gas now, their gas light comes on, they go to whatever gas station is close to them. We're completely changing the way people have done it traditionally, and so we're basically asking our customers, like, all that fuel spend that you spend annually sprinkled across different gas stations across your area, like, give that to us, we'll take care of it. And so we treat every customer as if it's like your wife or mother stranded on the side of the road. We want to make sure we get their fuel. And so, growth, taking care of our customers, and then, running the business.
Yeah, I found with like a lot of people when they try to start a business, like where they struggle the most is with the sales. They realize that you don't just make a website and the customers come to you. Like in the beginning, you got to develop a reputation. You got to go out and hunt for those clients. How do you like source clients?
Yeah, so social media is a huge part of it. But even then, it's hard to like understand what our business is, because like you mentioned at the beginning, it's pretty niche, and stopping at a gas station might be inconvenient, but it's not that inconvenient. We've been doing it that way our whole lives. Our parents have been doing it that way our whole lives. So showing on social media what we can do and how we do it, and that we're reliable and that our customers really like it, has been very helpful. We've gone viral half a dozen times now, multiple videos, over 10 million views. And it's really just us doing our thing, delivering fuel, and people love it. It resonates with people. It's a pain point in people's lives, and they see this and they're like, oh my God, this was awesome. How do I bring this to my location, or when are y'all coming to, Ohio or Florida or Louisiana or wherever. So
Have you noticed any patterns in the videos that are going viral versus the ones that aren't?
yeah, so anything that any common trends as far as hating on the business, we play into that, and that takes it, to the next level. It makes it go viral. People, the first response is like, how lazy are people? So we play into that a lot, and then that gets a lot of interaction in the comments, and then it just takes off because the viewers start fighting that battle for us. They're like, this isn't lazy. It's actually, a lot safer, and, it's way more convenient. You don't value your time if you think it's lazy, and things like that. And so that's probably the one that, our method to keep the virality going. It's just, when we see these hater comments, we're like, okay, let's make a video for that.
Yeah, that's great. What are the, since you've started the business, has it stuck to the same model, or have there been any major changes that have kind of evolved just through the natural growth of the company?
Yeah, so we started doing boats this year in May, and that's been a huge uptick for us. That was always part of the plan. However, if I had started again, probably would have started right with boats. The margin's better. The I don't know how to word it, but the pitching it to a customer and them seeing the value in it is much easier.
They're better clients.
Yeah, better clients, a lot more flexibility. People need their boats not filled up right now. You've got a week to get it done.
Right.
So operationally, it's much more flexible. The margin's a lot better. However, we just had the one truck starting out, and we wanted to build a customer base and build enough volume to be able to start sourcing and having some of that leverage to source our fuel from different places and get some buying power that way, and then move into other avenues. And that's where we're at right now.
Great. Yeah, you said before you were in the military, you're an Apache pilot. How did being in the military contribute to being a business owner? Is there anything that it's helped with?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you just got to do whatever you got to do to get the job done. And, our job, every day we have our requests rolling in, but there are also challenges that arise, batteries failing on a truck, or pumps failing, not pumping fast enough. Or, customers' vehicles aren't there when we show up to deliver it. So there's constantly things that we got to overcome. And so, we set our hours 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but we've been delivering fuel till 11 p.m. at night. So whatever we got to do to get it there, we're going to get it done. And, I think that's just a mindset that, I've grown up with over the last 20 years of working. Whatever the task is, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's the way to be. You got to have that persistence, because anything can get thrown at you, and a lot of people will turn back and go back to the comfort, but that's where boys are separated from the men.
That's right. I mean, that's why they say most businesses fail, right? Is the founder quits. It's not that the business failed. People just give up at some point.
Yeah, and that's really the only true failure, is quitting. If you had $1 million of just guilt-free capital right now, how would you deploy it within the business?
So we'd continue our growth trajectory here in Charleston, but we also want to start expanding into similar markets. So think Beaufort, Savannah, Myrtle Beach, Myrtle's Inlet area, move up to the lakes in Columbia. Those are all areas we expect to be in here shortly. And then also vertically integrating into getting larger trucks that we can be our own supply. That's the most natural fit for, if I would had capital, like you say, is start going to the terminals ourselves and being our own supplier, capturing that additional margin.
What are your biggest needs outside of capital, for that scale?
People, those kind of go hand in hand, right? I've got a very small, close knit team that is doing great. but we need more people. We need more talent to expand. That requires money too. I don't want to bring someone on and then you have to tell them a few months later, hey, we're not growing as quickly as we were. It's a winter now. People aren't filling up boats. Like, sorry, thanks for your time. So that's something I really don't want to do. But yeah, definitely, people and equipment. That's what I would do.
Up until this point, what's the biggest oh shit moment you've encountered in the business?
There's been a bunch. Just start with at the beginning. I mean, my first piece of equipment we bought, we bought our truck and then we bought this fuel skid, and it shows up and it's like 16 inches too long. It doesn't fit in the back of the truck. And I'm like, oh, what the hell am I going to do with this? And so that required me just, first I got on the phone with the guy who built it for me. I'm like, what the hell, man? This isn't what I ordered. And, we went back and forth. And, fortunately, I'd only paid like 50% deposit. And I was like, I'm not paying you another $1. Like, you can come get this thing. And he's like, why don't you just keep it then? And so we agreed on that. But that meant I had to modify it, took tank off, literally me and my neighbor are cutting this thing up in my garage to get it to fit. And that's the skid we ran with for the first 10 months. So that was one thing. We were part of a accelerator initially that was like kind of guiding us through the startup process, and then they just shut down. Fortunately, I had like the assets we had created during that process. I had ownership of, but like I had a app that was being built that wasn't working yet, so, and they just shut down. So that was definitely a oh shit moment. But goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like you just got to figure it out. Like we're doing this, and at this point we have enough customers and enough daily demand that like we know we're onto something. It's not that the business isn't going to be successful. It's more like, are we going to be the ones who can take it to the next level? We know the demand's there. We know the appetite's there. We talked about, going viral before. We've got a list of hundreds of people that have asked to franchise Juiced. They're not asking like, hey, can you help me start a fuel business? They want Juice Fuel. They see what we're doing. They see kind of the persona we've created on social media, the branding, everything pops. They love everything about what we're doing and how we're building the company, and they want to bring it to their location. So it's exciting.
What do you think the keys are to building an attractive brand for the consumer?
I think it's consistency. We're posting things every day, and they're not all bangers. But you got to constantly be putting it out there, the good and the bad. We were running our business off Google Voice, and Google just shut down Google Voice our Google Voice number at some point, and we're in business. All of a sudden we can't take any calls. We had automation through our app, the text messages would go out, and all that just stopped overnight. And so we had to get on our platform, say, hey, we got a new number temporarily. Sorry about this. And then that didn't work out. So like literally the next day we're like, hey, just kidding. We got a new number now. This is a real new number. So we were very transparent about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And
transparency is key.
Yeah. And it helps people relate. And then also like, it's good when you're running late for your customer or you're not able to deliver them for whatever reason. They get it. They know what we're going through, and they love us for that. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. Get it tomorrow.
Yeah, I think in like this world right now with like so much disinformation and there's so much mistrust, if you can put trust and transparency as one of your top values within the company, it's a really easy way to differentiate yourself against the field.
Yeah, I agree. One of the you talked about oh shit moments was we had a transportation police officer reach out to us and let me know that I was breaking the law with how we were delivering fuel. And it wasn't intentional. It was, I had read all the regulations and thought I was doing everything correctly, but there was a small appendix to one rule that calls out gasoline separate from diesel and says, if you're carrying more than 1,000 pounds, every other regulation refers to it in gallons, and this one refers to it in pounds. And 1,000 pounds of gasoline is only about 160 gallons of gas. And so we were not compliant. So that was an oh shit moment of, okay, now I got to get CDLs. I got to get hazmat endorsements. I'm not insured properly. All those things we had to change, which increased our, break even significantly. But we were able to get that information by being transparent and letting everyone know what we're doing. And, someone reached out to us and they didn't come down to shut down our business. They were like, hey, we like what you're doing. We think you're offering a service that offers people a safer, better alternative to going to the gas station. We just want to make sure you're doing it the right way.
And regulatory hurdles are the worst kind of hurdles, and it sounds like you guys weathered the storm, so you got the endurance for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So now that you've started your business and you've seen the ups and downs of being a business owner, what do you think is one piece of advice or the most important thing that you've learned that Korey today would tell yourself at an earlier stage in your life?
I would say you just got to get out there and do it. You got to go ahead and figure out what you're going to screw up. And so find that idea that you're passionate about, and then just start executing and iterating and failing and learning and changing. If we try to map out this business from the beginning, we probably never would have done it. Knowing that we're selling a commodity that, the only differentiator is price, really, and people don't want to pay it. Low margin, all the regulatory hurdles we just mentioned. It would be difficult to map that out to success. But I had a vision of where we wanted to go, and I could see the success, and so we just dove into it. Fortunately, I've got a very supportive wife who's all in with me, and that makes it much easier to be able to do those things.
Yeah, I think that's like a reoccurring theme that we keep hearing like throughout all these podcasts is like just get started. And I had on an early podcast Rod Robertson. He's one of my early mentors. And he talks about, I might be misquoting this, but I think it's called the Navy SEAL 80-20 rule, where the Navy SEALs wait till they get things like 70-80% right, and then they just go. Because if you wait till everything's 100% right, then everything's moving and changing, and you'll never actually make a move. So it's like getting it till it's like pretty good, and then making the jump, and you'll figure out the rest of the way when you're in the fire, you're in the fight. But yep. I feel so many people like they panic and they want to have everything so perfect, and then because of that, they waste so much time and never get started. And when you get started is when you start hitting those failures and getting the knowledge that you learn from those failures that allow you to get that extra 20% to finish the job or finish the mission.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Just get started and go from there.
So this is a little bit off the cuff, but since you come from the oil industry, what do you think about all the policies like getting rid of fossil fuels and going to electric cars? And
so
is it sustainable?
I'm agnostic to that, meaning it doesn't matter. Like, as far as, from my seat as Juiced founder, we're building a logistics network, really. Right now we're delivering fuel. We could be delivering, 3-phase power on a supercharger in the back of the truck and the same platform, right? So really what we're offering is, reliable service, on demand that you can have delivered to your house. So like we're offering people with combustion vehicles the same experience that you'd get having an EV without having to buy, a new car when you already have one. So right now EVs are like 3.9% of the total vehicle market share. We'll take care of the 96%, let someone else figure out that 4% for now. But certainly I could see, a future where that's an offering that we would provide.
What about just for like the general market? Do you think it's sustainable to get off fossil fuels?
No, because it's not just transportation. I mean, you're talking about plastics, you're talking about pharmaceuticals, like all that is part of the fossil fuels that we don't talk about. I mean, jet fuel, you name it. We moved here in Charleston, we moved petrochemical paraxylene up to 2 companies that manufacture plastics and plastic resins for it to go into everything from pharmaceutical packaging to forks and spoons that we use, and that's not going to go away.
I don't know if you have any insight into this, but it seems like the reason behind it, well, I'm sure there's ulterior motives, but the front-facing reason is like for environmental concerns. Do you think it has a legitimate positive impact reducing fossil fuels, or is it going to, you hear people talk about EVs and the batteries and the production of them are like more environmentally damaging than fossil fuels? I don't know if you have any insight into that.
I don't really have any insight other than, what you just said. We don't know the impacts that, mining for, special chemical or special material like lithium and cobalt, and what kind of impact that's going to have. I do know like all the transportation and CO2 has resulted in a much greener earth, today than it was, 100 years ago. So, I don't know. That's not really, I don't really have a take on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, my kind of wrap-up question is like, how do you define success? What are you chasing after?
So success for me is, being able to provide for my family, not feel like beholden to whether that's a company or a schedule. I'm trying to build something that, maybe one day I'm passing down to my family, or we're able to sell and we don't have to work anymore. I don't care what that result is. Either way, I think is successful. But I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I love building Juiced and working with my family. And I think that's, ultimately what it's all about, working for yourself and being able to provide with something that you built is successful enough for me.
Well, I think you guys got a great company, and your values are very grounded, and it's inspiring what you're doing. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Is there anywhere, like, where can people find you if they're interested in your services, if they want to reach out?
Yeah, juicefuel.com is our website, but definitely follow us on social media. At JuiceFuel on Instagram's what most of our stuff gets posted. Download our app, Juice Fuel, play with it. We got a new app coming out soon, so be on the lookout for that. And we'll see you around the Low Country.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. Well, that concludes episode 28 of Shakin' Hands. I'm your host, Jack Moran. You can find me on Instagram at Jack Riley Moran. If you guys have any suggestions for guests that you want to see on the show or questions that you want to ask, don't hesitate to reach out. But other than that, we'll catch you next time. See ya.